Hello, and welcome to this episode of Redefining the Customer Journey, where we take a deep dive into how anyone from a local small business owner up to a corporate CEO can build a modern business that is flexible and able to quickly adapt and evolve. Specifically, in this episode, we're going to be giving you some major takeaways on the topic of custom fields. With these easy to implement business principles, you're going to make more money while saving hundreds of hours by implementing a few simple steps. We've all seen businesses collapse because they were built on weak foundations riddled with problems in their day to day, which are also unnecessarily complex to grow and scale. We want to help you build something that leverages your time and resources for maximum effectiveness without sacrificing your customer experience. I'm Paul Sokol, founder of BPro, best-selling author of the Infusionsoft cookbook, which contains over 80 CRM-based business recipes for automated follow-up, and I've been helping small to medium-sized businesses under 50 million grow with automation since 2008.
I'm Bobby Perceau, founder of LeadPass.com, which helps you set up your business processes on autopilot to free up more time for sales with using automation. I've been in the automation space since 2016, primarily in the financial sector and service-based businesses. In each of the episodes, we're going to cover one specific CRM topic to explain what it is, why it's important, common problems, and the best solution we've seen throughout our experience. And as we had mentioned, for today's episode, we're going to be talking about custom fields, what they are, where we use them, what their purpose is, and some key takeaways to avoid.
Or take, depending on what the takeaway is. So let's first of all talk about, Bobby, what is a custom field? First off, they're beautiful. Custom fields are amazing. A custom field, it's merely a piece of data in your CRM. That's it. And it allows you to do things like update client profiles, track people through processes. It's just a piece of data at the end of the day. Mighty but powerful.
Yeah. So when you think about like a custom field, it's basically one of the foundational structures of any CRM. It keeps track of all of the data from your individual contacts within your CRM, when you're doing sales, how much the products was that you were able to offer to them, what type of client they are, how often they come to your shop. And with custom fields, you're able to build over time all the KPIs and key metrics to see where they are on the sales and what is your most profitable client.
Yeah. And I want to point out that there's actually many different types of custom fields, which we're going to talk about a lot because, as you mentioned, it's the foundation of any CRM, regardless of what you're using. There's going to be custom pieces of data you need for your business that aren't available out of the box. Even if you get something that's like specific to your industry, like if you're an auto shop and you got an auto shop specific CRM, there's still going to be custom pieces of information that you want to collect and track for your specific business. And one thing that a lot of people often forget is that there's different custom fields per record type as well. And so what I mean by that is in a CRM, you have like a contact record and then maybe like an order record or like a lead record, opportunity record, these kinds of things. You can have custom fields, and in most CRMs, most modern CRMs, you can have custom fields at each of those different levels as well. And that's really where the power of a CRM can take off when you're customizing every single part of your business. So that's why they're important. Hopefully that explains it. Is there any other reason why you think it's critical, Bobby?
I mean, it's the structural foundation of all contacts within your system. A lot of people, when they go to build out their CRM or their automation processes, they don't give enough thought process into their custom fields. And a lot of people are using multiple programs, right? You might be using a broker management software, then you're using a CRM to do your actual outreach. If you're a service-based business, you're going to have like a Service Titan or a Jobber on the back end. And when you build out the custom fields, you have to be very specific about what type of custom field they are, because you have to push data from one part program to the other, usually through a webhook and API in programs like Make or Zapier. Mm-hmm. And when you're first starting out, this is really important to really think about the type of data in each field. So, if you have a date range, you have to have the formatting of which date type it is going to be. For pricing, you're going to have to pick, is it going to be a numeric one? Is it going to be a monetary custom field or is it going to be a text field? And depending on how the data is getting pushed in, it's going to affect the transfer of data. So just things like that are really important to make aware of at the building phase.
Yeah, that is a huge common issue. I really want to belabor that choosing the wrong field type. So, like you said, for like a sale, you could have a number-based custom field, or you could have a text-based custom field. Well, that's two completely different kinds of data here. And so even inside the CRM is smart enough to understand the context of this. So like if you have a date field, for example, you can search across a range of dates where if you're storing a date in a text type field, that that context isn't there. So I'd say a big takeaway and a common issue you want to avoid is to be really intentional by choosing the right type of data in the first place when you're building these. And I would actually recommend using a text field as like the backup plan B, because there's usually always a better kind of data to use than just text. But of course, text also has plenty of uses here. And then to your point, Bobby, when you're going between systems, you know, if you have like a date field in one place, but then it has to go to a text field in another, it can just be a nightmare. And so that's a common issue to avoid for sure.
And a lot of the times when people have custom fields, they usually have admin staff or salespeople who are manually putting in the data at some point. So the naming conventions have to be there. So if you want to have a new salesperson come in and have a really easy onboarding process, you might want to match the naming convention of the custom field with the tagging convention with the opportunity stage so that they know clearly exactly what the purpose of that custom field is, and even over explaining the naming convention of the custom field. So like second purchase order, right? Or like it's just a longer custom name than maybe what you need. So that's something that is just something that you should think about when you're building it out from the start.
Yeah, and if you want more on naming conventions, go listen to the previous episode because that was the entire topic of that, and we definitely talked about custom fields. And so that is a huge issue that I see is that the two things that the names of the fields themselves are not user friendly, and this is a real common mistake because the customer's never going to see it. Who cares what the name of the field is? Well, if something's confusing or it's unclear what it is, you're not gonna. It's gonna be harder to like. It's gonna take longer to train your team to grow and scale, and then also the organization of the fields as well. You can intentionally design the clusters of where things are to again make it easier for that end user. And I'll go into CRMs where there's just custom fields everywhere and one blob, no organization, and it's amazing how just clustering, here's these four fields around this part of the business, and then here's these couple of fields for like the marketing tracking, and just organizing them makes all the difference here. And to your point about the names, it should be plain English, and that's a good that's definitely a solution against this common issue. And I'd say a key takeaway from this is make the names self-explanatory. So an example that I thought of was I've got a client. They have their own like dollars, like Bob dollars, right? And that can be used for people. People can earn Bob dollars by doing stuff, and then they can check out and get free products and services in the store using these Bob dollars, right? So we were building a mechanism, and we needed to have a number field on the contact record for how many Bob dollars they had. And when we were naming it, we were like, let's just call this Bob Dollars. But then I thought about it and I'm like, that's very ambiguous. Like, what does that mean? Is that the Bob Dollars that they've spent? Is that how many Bob Dollars they have available? And so what we decided to do is we qualified it and we just simply named the field Bob Dollars available, because now anybody on the team will look at that and it's super obvious. Oh, this is how many it's like the balance of a gift card, right? Here's how many Bob Dollars they have. um, and that's such a small detail, but I'm sure you can imagine that would be really hard to train people. Oh, Bob dollars, yeah, that means that they have Bob dollars available, and now people have to remember that, and you have to make sure that's in your training, which we're going to talk about at the very end of the season when we get to the employee experience. So stay tuned and subscribe if you're not already. Um, are there any other common issues, Bobby, that I mean, I know we could talk about custom fields way more than this episode, but do we miss anything you think that people need to be
Yeah,
aware
I
of?
mean, avoiding abbreviations. I mean, I think that we talked about that too.
Yeah. Oh,
Planning
that's a
from the
huge
start,
one. Yep.
watching out about the manually adding them to the wrong fields. So when you're grouping them together too, like a lot of the different CRMs now allow you to have folders for organization. So if you have like product one and you have like 14 different custom fields that all correlate with that one individual, place them in there just so that it's nice and easy to see and to go back in when you have to make updates to it. So always organized by groups. And when you want to get super granular, the best part about the custom solutions is long-term data collection. So, for example, I have this franchise right now who has like 20 locations for tattoo artists, and we're building out their KPI tracking system right now. And there's like 14 different item lines of tattooing. So you go and you say, okay, this is the color and the type of tattoo, one custom field. This is the placement of the tattoo. This is the complication of the tattoo. Was there a complication? Here's the description of the complication. And then this is the amount that they paid for this type of tattoo. This was the age of that person for the tattoo. This was the date completed of that tattoo. So every purchase, and a sleeve can have like 10 different tattoos within it. So what you do is you can track it over long periods of time when you push it to a big data SQL. So like, let's say you just use Data Boy, for example, or Data Box, sorry. If you take that data over like 3 months or a year from like 20 locations, you can then be like, okay, our most profitable product line was this. We know that they're going to spend $150 on this like 3-word tattoo. It's targeted on the outside of their arm, and we're going to make a custom audience against it to run our Facebook ads. So you can get so granular on the niche if you set up the custom fields properly at the start to keep the data for the KPIs. And that's where a lot of people fail on their reporting because they don't break it down enough. It's not enough to say, okay, they got a tattoo on their arm and it was blank. It's like, okay, it was in this style, it was in this exact place on their arm, it cost this amount of money, it took the technician this amount of time, here are the common tech problems with it, and here is the target market to go back and attack that niche to get more customers in. So when you're looking at big data and pulling reports and KPIs, custom fields are the bread and butter long term.
Absolutely.
And
You have to think about that growth and scalability when you're designing these custom fields. It's not enough to just have the information on there. It's how are you going to use it? Especially, and this is actually a common issue I see with custom fields that we're going to merge into some kind of communication. And so if we want to go ahead and send someone an email or text that says, "Hey," well, we use the tattoo example. "Hey, thanks for coming and getting in like your sleeve tattoo," right? Um, if we know that we're going to be merging that piece of information into anything that's customer facing, you have to be extra careful to make sure that we reduce the human error and not having that data be awkward, right? And so, like, just a real simple common example, we'll see people like with sales teams, and for some reason, the name is in all caps, and that's something I train the people to do. Is like make their name not in all caps, so we're not screaming at them in an email. Hey, Bobby. First of all, that ruins the magic. That ruins the experience. It's obviously some database driven thing. But then for things where we're going to be merging these fields in, if you can reduce human error, do it. So like if there's certain I'll use like drop down types to where it's a fixed value to where there's actually nothing to type. They just select the thing, and then we know it's guaranteed that it's always going to look good in an email or a text, even down to the capitalization too. So like when I'm doing drop downs, even even if I'm not sure if it's going to be used in a merge field, I'll always lowercase it just in case in the future I ever need to. And then that way, again, it's designed with care and it's going to look good when those custom fields get echoed out of your database to some kind of communication. And that's a real big gotcha. So I'd say like a big takeaway with this is just design any fields you're going to merge with extra care and try and reduce any possibility of human error wherever possible. Which is really is just saying give consideration to how the field's going to be used before you even choose what the type of field is. So, like if it's reporting or we're going to merge it into some communication because it's part of a onboarding or something like that's uh, that's a big one. I think
I think
we
that's it, Sokol. I think that's the general trend of custom fields at a high level of the first round of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And and we're pretty much at time for this episode. And I think we've talked about everything. We talked about, caring about the internal user experience. We've talked about using the right types of data in the right places. And if anything, hopefully for you out here watching and listening, you understand that a custom field, because it is the foundation of your CRM, it's not just something that's willy-nilly. I would rather you slow down and really spend the time to make sure it's going to grow and scale with your business, and do it as right as you can the very first time, because that's just going to serve you in the future. So, uh, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comments, and make sure you watch the next episode where we're going to talk about tagging, which is another kind of data other than a custom field. So be sure to subscribe now if you haven't already so you don't miss it. If you want to learn more about customer journeys, you can go ahead and get my free How to Automate Like a Pro mini course. And if you want to get some pre-built customer journey automations, Bobby is giving away some free ones as well. The links to either of these are in the show notes and the description, and we will see you next time.